Some sad news today. Stephen Twitch Boss, dancer, longtime DJ for the Ellen DeGeneres show, has died in Los Angeles, died by suicide at the age of 40. Boss was a runner-up on Star Search, and then he competed on So You Think You Can Dance. That was 2008. Then he joined Ellen's show 6 years later. His wife issued a statement saying, quote, "To say he left a legacy would be an understatement, and his positive impact will continue to be felt." Joining me now is Dr. Meredith Sears with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Doctor, first of all, thanks for joining us. Suicide is so difficult to talk about, and especially during the holidays, it feels like there's even more stress and tension for so many. How do you even start that conversation?
That's a great question, and thank you for having me on and talking about this really important topic. It is one that we don't have a lot of comfort around. It's one that can be a very, very difficult conversation to start with family members, with friends, with loved ones. And we always recommend starting with a really clear question. Are you thinking about suicide? If you're worried about someone, a lot of times we start talking around people. So you'll have that family chat where everybody's talking about, I'm kind of worried about Uncle Joe. Has anybody else been worried? And nobody really goes to Uncle Joe and actually asks what's going on and expresses that concern. So the most important thing, if you're worried about someone in your life, is to just ask. Have they thought about suicide? Have they thought about killing themselves?
That's so direct. When I hear you say that, my first thought is, well, whoever that is going to be really defensive. They're not going to say yes.
You'd be surprised. I think if you explain a little bit about why you're asking, if you say, you've been really depressed lately, I'm worried about you, I want to make sure that you're safe, and I'm worried that you may have been thinking about suicide. Is that something that's been going through your mind? I think people understand that it's coming from a place of concern and caring. And I've certainly had very few people respond to that question defensively. Sometimes they'll say no, which is great. I mean, I'm delighted if someone is not thinking about suicide. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I guess you'd rather have somebody get mad at you for asking rather than not asking and wishing you had after some tragedy occurs. We always see, during the holidays, time for families to gather. Not everybody has a family, and we associate that with a possible increase in suicides. Is it true? Is there a correlation between the holidays and an increase in suicides?
That's a great question. And traditionally, statistics on suicide have been a little uncertain. And so we actually tend not to see that effect as much as you'd expect. Often things can get a lot harder right after the holidays when people have a little bit more support or they have that sense of toughing through a difficult time. The letdown after the holidays can be especially hard when that support is missing.
So you mentioned, let's say Uncle Joe in this case. What are the signs that you would look for to say, I'm a little worried here?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a difficult one. So a lot of the signs that we recommend looking for are just general signs that someone is having a tough time. And so they don't point really specifically to suicide. But you want to look for changes. You want to look for changes in someone's mood, maybe withdrawal from family or friends, maybe drinking more than usual, talking explicitly about feeling hopeless or feeling like they just can't go on, and they don't know if they have the strength, or they don't know if there are answers to the problems that they're experiencing. But a lot of what we're looking for is change. And like I said, if you're concerned about someone, listen to that gut instinct and ask. And the best answer you can get is that you're more worried than you need to be.
All right. If you get a yes on the question, what do you do then? I mean, what resources would you go to for somebody that is thinking about suicide?
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to just acknowledge is that this is a very, very tough conversation to have. It can be really scary. It can be really anxiety provoking. And if someone says yes, I think the immediate reaction, if you care about them, is to try to convince them to live and try to problem solve, which is a wonderful feature of the human brain. We want to problem solve. Unfortunately, sometimes that can lead to the individual who's struggling feeling shut down and feeling like they're not being heard. And so the most important thing that you can do is validate what they're experiencing, listen, let them tell you what's going on, and show them that you care, and communicate that you really care about what happens to them. More concretely, you can offer them help with getting access to resources. Looking for mental health care can be really a slog. There are long lists of therapists that health insurance companies offer that a lot of them are not taking patients at any given time. And so getting connected to a therapist can be tricky, and it can be time consuming. And for someone who's really struggling, that effort can seem insurmountable.
Yeah.
So you can offer something really concrete, like helping them get connected, make sure they know about the crisis line 988, and make sure that they know that they can think about reducing access to lethal means like firearms when they're going through crisis periods reduce the likelihood of an impulsive act.
That's a great point. I want to thank you for your time, Dr. Sears. A really important conversation, and as uncomfortable as it is, one that is often necessary. So again, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
For sure. If you or somebody you know is going through some mental health struggles, we have a useful list of resources. Just go to abc7news.com/take action. And if you run into an urgent situation, call the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. We'll be right back.